Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Season 1, Episode 5 of Paper Girls. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So first and foremost, we're immediately picking up where the last episode left off with the giant mech they're in. Them going through the time travel process and everything. It's like, cool, we're back home, which obviously Mac's not too happy about that, but it is what it is. But then like Tiffany's like, cool, like maybe we could wait, to check out and meet up with the others. And Larry's acting kind of like an agitated dickweed, and you're like, why are you so agitated, Larry? I'm like, did you do it? I think you did. And he's like, right, I'm sorry. And we later on find out it is the case. He didn't take them back to 88. He didn't follow Tiffany's plan. He's like, yeah, it was a smart plan, but he didn't want to take the chance things could go wrong. This is a one in a chance opportunity. So it's like, right, we got to go to 99. And I guess like his calculations were either wrong for 99 or they predicted where they were going to go and be. And like just things went super sideways. So, and Larry ends up getting obliterated, laser turned into nothing but like particles and dust. It's like, Jesus. And Erin, older Erin, decides that she's going to protect the others. She even tells her younger self, like, right, you protect people, you look after people, but don't use it as an excuse. And I'm assuming she's referencing, like, right, she used her mom, looking after her mom as an excuse not to live her life. Maybe that's what that kind of came down to. Like, there was a little bit of, like, resentment towards her own sister because she got to live her life because Erin decided, like, right, I made a choice at a young age that I was going to look after my mom, I was going to take care of her, and then when she got sick, I doubled down on it. But I was so focused on protecting her and looking after her, I used her as an excuse not to live my life. So it's like, right, don't make the same mistake I did. Protect people, but don't like let them in. Like, you got this. And ends up getting in the robot, fighting the other robot, and duking it out. Once again, wasn't expecting some mech battles, but she's obviously out. Because we didn't actually get to see. I would assume that one's piloted by someone too, but the other one might have been automated. But the model she was using, I think, is a very like old model, and the one was like more because it had more weapons on board. Completely outclassed, and I was like, she's about to die, isn't she? I was like, I figured Larry was going to die, but I didn't expect older Erin to die. That's rough. I mean, especially like the existential crisis that causes young Erin. It's like, for one, it's like you watched yourself die. Two, especially because you and your older self weren't on the best terms, because she even talks to Mac about it. Mac's like, how did it feel to watch yourself die? She's like, I felt nothing, because she's like, on some level, I just kept, because she wasn't what I wanted myself to be, I just kept treating her like she was someone different. So in my mind, we were two separate people. It didn't even feel like I watched myself die. But I think it's because she regretted, like, because that Erin died with so many regrets. Like, the way life played out, her and Missy never had an opportunity to make up. And maybe, I don't know if younger Erin is even thinking about this, but it's like, right, gotta go live my life, make sure I don't end up in that future, but at the very least, make sure me and Missy never get like that I learn from those mistakes, because she heard, like, right, Missy's biggest issue with her was like, right, you looked after mom on your own, and I was never there to see mom in her final years, so she can learn from those mistakes. So, but older Erin sacrifices herself. Presses the button, which is kind of like a self-destruct incineration button, destroys her and the other robot. But there's still Larry's backpack, the old watches on the scene, and obviously there's I'm going with Prioris. I'm going with that pronunciation. Her and the grandfather are talking about everything. He's like, I get it that this is personal for you, which I'm assuming, because she did seem like she went super, super hard in the paint. I mean, it's just like, right, wiping out time travelers is her job, but it seemed like she has gone above and beyond when it came to like KJ and them. So I'm assuming it's because the guy that died was someone that was important to her. So I'm assuming so. Well, the grandfather was like, yeah, but you're not the only one who's lost something. Like, you're not special. We've all lost someone, but it's time for you to do your job, do what you're supposed to do, and not kind of get so consumed with revenge, because she's talking about, like, right, let's just go, let's get an army. Hell, just let me go, and we can wipe out the STF, the underground, once and for all, but he's like, no, there's rules to engagement to this. She's like, fine, like the resistance, the STF, they get to do whatever they want to, while we are like held to a higher standard because we got our hands tied behind our back. It seems like they have I guess with their need to protect the timeline, the STF are willy-nilly with the time travel, but they have to follow a set rule of like, probably like, you can't use time travel in a manner that could be catastrophic to the timeline. Like, it has to be like a very precision strike. It can't be like a chainsaw. Maybe that's what that's in reference to, or maybe there's something else that we're just not getting context wise. But once again, the place gets abluted, and yet again our paper girls walk away yet again with their memories still intact. It's like, right, this is supposed to wipe out everyone's memories, but ours are still intact. What's going on here? And so when it's all said and done, they find out that they're not in 88, they are in 99. And like, Tiff is like, oh, she's making excuses like, well, there must have been a miscalculation. But KJ's like, no, Larry lied to you. He used you and manipulated. He took your stupid idea and got what he wanted in the end. Older Erin died for a lie. Because I think Tiffany thought she was connecting with Larry, but that's why he was snapping at her, because it was kind of like, right, because he felt guilty about manipulating him. But once again, this is like for the greater good of the war, whatever sacrifices had to be made, because maybe he was hoping like, right, when it's all said and done, they would be okay, or if it was all worthwhile, it would have been fine, but it wasn't. You know, he screwed them over, and he's not even here to kind of deal with the consequences, so. And now older Erin is dead too because of his choice in the matter. And once again, I think it was a damned if you do, damned if you don't type of situation. He took a gamble and he lost. And KJ and Mac are pissed at Tiffany. They're telling her to keep her mouth shut. And I think it's so interesting where like Mac was like, yeah, you don't have to talk all the time, Tiffany. And then KJ kind of laughs. It's like, yeah, like KJ's usually on the other end of like Mac's berating, but like for them to be a united front against Tiffany, I think she liked that. And it's like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Like, I think that once again kind of speaks volumes. But well, Mac and Erin are like talking a little bit, and at first I was like, yeah, she knows what it's like. Well, because she doesn't talk about it, but it is a thing of, well, we are in 1999. There are older versions of everyone around here except for me, because she knows what her future holds. Like, she died like what, 6 years ago. So like, and she hasn't opened up to anyone about that. She's still keeping that bottled up. Of course she would. I figured she wouldn't tell anyone about that. But I thought maybe she'd make Erin try to make Erin feel better. It's like, right, your future self is dead. It's like, well, I'm currently dead. It's like, what? It's like, yeah, I learned I got sick and I died like 4 years from 1998. So like, I've been dead for a couple years now. So, but she doesn't. Like, she just holds that deep inside. And there's the whole ordeal about the tampon thing. I love the episode, because the episode title was like, the moment they start dealing with the period stuff, I was like, wait, didn't the title have something about period in it? And I paused and I was like, oh, a new period, of course. I love because obviously they're in a new time period, plus the double entendre of Erin having her period, and she's the only one. Because I love, they're like, yeah, because KJ rides on horses. I think they're conflating though. Well, because I know because I've heard people, like, it's come up in TV shows and stuff like that, that some women have broken their hymens on horseback. I don't know if that that's what I think they're conflating with, like, your first period. Like, I've heard that. I've never heard, like, oh, girls get their period because of, God, once again, me and my ignorance, I'm like, there's no connection between the two. Like, your hymen, like, no, it shouldn't be. Like, that's why I'm like, so I think they're conflating that. They're probably confusing, like, your period with just, like, having your hymen broken. Or maybe that is a thing. I've heard it about the hymen thing. I've never heard it about, your period, like horseback being a reason to cause that. Either way, so Erin's the only one going through it, and them having to figure it out. It's like, dude, in this moment, like, because that's the sad thing. Erin, she was trying to talk to her older version of herself last episode about it, but didn't get an opportunity to. And now she has to figure it out. They're reading the instructions, and they're like, oh, like, you know what? Like, what happens if it gets stuck in there forever? And then you had Mac being like, oh, like, then it's like gum, it'll get stuck out there till it rots. I'm like, she's not actually wrong. I was like, and then, they ended up reading the instructions and found out about they said it's like shock something. And I was like, oh yeah, if you leave it, which I'm like, at that moment, when I found out about that being a thing, I was like, Jesus. But I guess it's like, once again, when you've done that and it's a big part of your life, you just know to change it out. But I'm like, dude, if you forget about that, it's fucking deadly. I was like, that sucks. That sucks so much donkey dick, dude. Like, how do you, like, something that it's supposed to, like, help with the situation down there. Oh, and if you leave it in for too long, it can hurt you. I think that could straight up kill you, can't it? It's like, Jesus, dude. I was like, man, I can't even imagine, like, dealing with them. But also, once again, I've never had to deal with that my entire life, I've never had to really go into the intricacies of it and stuff. Like, it's fascinating. Also fucked up, it's like, and especially because they're trying to figure it out, and Erin's so scared. Also love the tampon conversation, like, oh, is it super, or is it like a regular? And then I love that it's like, oh yeah, like, and Mac being like, yeah, it's gotta be about the size of your vagina, and it's like, how do you, and Erin's like, I know it was KJ, like, was spreading her fingers, like, how do you measure that? She's like, yeah, I'll probably have like a super vagina. And it's like, and Erin's like, I guess I'm regular, but she's just like, no, I don't want to deal with this. And then you had Mac like, don't worry, I'll go get the diaper. And so she has to put that on, and her having to readjust herself. It's like, oh, that sucks so much. But when this, past that point, though, they have to worry about now, like, well, where are we going to go? We can't get involved with any of our future selves, because if we do, there's a good chance what happened to adult Erin can happen to us, the people we care about could get mixed up in it, plus we could end up watching our future selves die yet again. So it is still that time paradox thing, because they are still they are popping into a timeline where they still exist. Like, there's a version of themselves that still lived in the 80s. I don't know whether that's like, because this is probably like timeline branched off onto it. Well, it's still the same timeline, so it's not a full-on branch off time. Because, obviously, like, none of them being in the 80s meant like their older versions of themselves shouldn't have existed at the present day, because they were never there to live their lives. Either that, or the argument is like, that time hadn't caught up to them yet, so it hadn't, like, erased. But it's like, no, it's just, once again, it's just straight up a paradox situation. Either way, they decide to end up going to KJ's place, because it's like, right, it's the 4th of July, my family's not even going to be there. And the moment she saw people there at the house, I was like, oh my god, KJ stayed behind and she threw a house party. But it's like, no, it seems like her parents threw the party. So, I mean, to be fair, it's been 11 years, so the traditions have probably changed. It's like, rather than going celebrating on their boat, they've kind of brought the party to them. So everyone goes in except for KJ, but then she sees her parents. Then they ultimately end up, well, they avoid her, but they kind of end up running into older AJ. And she sees herself, and it's just kind of like, she doesn't like the way she's acting. She's like, whoa, why am I acting like that? Why am I talking like that? Oh, why am I talking to that Rick guy? But immediately you could tell she wasn't feeling the vibe, and I'm like, oh, is that kind of, and there's a lot of stuff in this episode that kind of lends itself to what I was kind of bringing up last episode. And it probably pissed her off even more when Mac was like, ooh, look at you talking to every guy. She's like, shut the hell up. Like, it irritated her, and she probably didn't quite know why. But she was like, everything that Rick guy was all about really irritated her. Her mom being so pushy. I'm like, oh my god, my daughter definitely likes you. And he's like, oh yeah, I want something to kind of happen between us too. I kind of feel it too. And she just kind of has to walk away. So Matt goes and hangs out with Erin because she's trying to console her with everything. So, and she ends up telling that story about her brother, like, oh, this guy, in 5th grade or whatever, like, tried to step to her, and she told her older brother Dylan, and Dylan stepped to the guy, the kid, and the kid was, like, pissing himself. And then we find out that the kid's dad got involved. Dylan walked away with, like, a black eye, but he was smiling because the moral of the story was, hey, even if you lose, like, go down swinging. And it's like, your older Erin went down swinging. She's like, she went down swinging on those old bastards. And like, you two are the same, so you did save all of our lives. So trying to make her feel better about all of it. I love the whole thing of like, man, she felt bad. It's like, right, should we really be taking 200? Maybe we should be leaving 100 max. Like, dude, whether we're taking 150 or 5, we're stealing, so we might as well go full criminal, go all the way. It's like, all right, fine. And so, at the same time that's all happening, Tiff is trying to decipher the notebook. And she says this line, and I don't think it registered her how effed up it is for her to say this, but it's like, oh man, your puppy, who's a full-grown dog now, it's like, oh, he recognizes you despite you missing his entire life. It's like, shut up. She technically didn't, because there's a version of her that's been here the entire time. Once again, this timeline as if she never disappeared, as if your misadventures never happened. Once again, it could be a thing of eventually they get, well, because the whole thing is they terminate time travelers. They don't put them back in the original time. Once again, it might all be a loop. Because that was something Tiffany was trying to suggest. Like, right, if we don't stop this, what happened in 88, it's just going to repeat itself. And we're going to find ourselves right back here over and over again unless we do something for this war. But the others are like, no, we are the versions of ourselves from 88. You're kind of a version of yourselves because you're not the versions, because you're like paradoxes, you know? But I think that the point I was initially making was the fact is that Tiffany saying that kind of pissed KJ off, because it was almost like, yeah, it's not like it was my choice to be here. You're making it seem like, you know, she didn't mean it that way, but it came out the wrong way. And she didn't really even recognize like how jacked up it was, what she said. KJ goes, investigates the house, and kind of sees her life. And that's a complicated thing about knowing the future, because it's like, then you start getting into that time traveler's wife territory of like, right, now that you know what your future is, do you make different choices to end up in a different place? How do you know the choices you decide to make now? Like, if it's everything predetermined, like, are you always going to make those choices? Now you're thinking you're making different choices, when in actuality, you're making the choices that are just going to lead you to the end result regardless. She ends up meeting Lauren, which I immediately was like, it's like, oh, I'm her roommate or friend from college. I'm like, oh, is there more to that? Super turns out that it is, but they bonded over movies, and she's trying to get KJ to see, like, oh, you see Kubrick, and it's like, what's that? It's like Stanley Kubrick. She's like, oh my god, like his movies and stuff like that. You know, it's like, oh, we're about to go see 2001. I was like, oh, interesting. I've heard nothing but good things about that movie. I've never seen it. I'm not the movie buff person. I'm not the movie person, so. But the moment she was in the bathroom watching, and the fact is they were alone with each other, I was like, they're together, aren't they? And it's like, yeah, my mom's trying to set me up with Rick, and they're both laughing about it. I was like, oh boy, and they start making out, and KJ kind of has a panic attack, because I think for her, maybe on some level, it's there, but she's never quite quantified it or even realized, truth be told, what it was. And now I think it's that situation of like, wait, oh my god, I'm kissing a girl. Like, wait, what does that mean about me? I mean, I think, because I was about to say, like, I wonder, like, being Jewish, does that, you know, if, like, I mean, because different, you know, I mean, that isn't always clear cut, because not everyone from certain, like, because some religions are super against homosexuality, or just any spectrum of sexuality that isn't hetero, you know, so now, I was wondering if like maybe that was playing some role. And I mean, because obviously her parents don't know, considering her mom is still trying to set her up with guys. I mean, once again, she could be bi, but like obviously she already has someone in her life, but she doesn't feel comfortable enough to come out to her parents. Because regardless of it all, it's not the 80s anymore, but it's still only like 1999. So, and I think in that moment she's staring at herself in the mirror, because she's almost like, wait, like, it's, once again, you're questioning so much, because it's like, right, have I always felt like this? Is that me? Like, what does this mean? Like, she's so confused, so she storms out, everyone follows her, like, what's that all about? And Erin's like, oh yeah, I saw you, I know your secret or whatever, and she's like, yeah, I saw you talking to that guy, Rick, and he's like, who cares about Rick? And she's flipping out, and they're like, why are you being such an asshole? And she's like, what'd you say? And then Mac got in the way, and it's sad, because like Mac and Erin have gotten closer, like, over the past couple episodes, and in this moment, KJ ends up punching Mac in the face. And it's just because she's dealing with so much right now, and she's not, because it's like probably not the easiest thing to tell everyone, like, yeah, I caught my future self making out with another girl, and I don't know how to feel about that, and you're probably afraid of, like, what if you tell the others? Because like I said, like last episode, I was getting those vibes, like, she might actually like, Mac, and she just doesn't know how to like put that into words, and she doesn't know if that, like, is that even right? Is, you know, like, Does she feel wrong about it, or does she just not know what to feel or how to feel about it? So she just looks like a complete psycho to them, but it's like, yeah, she's dealing with a lot. And Tiffany was like, you guys are acting like damn children. You know what? I'm going to call someone that's going to be responsible. So she calls the only person she feels like she can rely on, older version of herself. It's like, right, this is me 11 years older. Obviously, I got to be more put together. Like, obviously, I wanted to go find future me in 2019, but like 1999 me will be good too. So she'll be the one to be able to help us figure this out, because it's like, right, I'm so smart as a kid. Like, obviously, my life, I already know where my future is heading. So like, right, I might be getting to myself like 20 years earlier than like the me super far in the future, but this version of me can help too, because it's like, and I think that's a little bit of a thing of, I don't know whether those are expectations her family set upon her, or whether those just expectations she set upon herself of like, this is what my life, because it's like Erin's on the other side of things, where it's like Erin like had these goals for herself and she didn't meet them in the future. Whereas Tiffany, it's like, right, I have these goals of what I'm going to do. I'm going to be awesome. Turns out, seems like, both in 99 and potentially in 2019, from what she read about herself is, oh, I am awesome. So, but obviously you're getting snapshots of a person's life. You're not getting the full picture of all the intricacies and the complexities of it. So they made a promise not to interact with their future selves. But once again, knowing so much about your own future can be an issue. So that also makes me wonder, once again, like, are we going to find out in the end result that their memories are going to get wiped and they're going to get put back? Like, maybe someone's going to help put them back, but none of them want to forget this experience, because there's so much they can apply to their own respective times when they go back to 88. It's like, right, she knows like what her, like, she's going to live life to the fullest, and knowing what her brother's going to be and who he's going to be and what his family's going to shape up to be like, because she ended up talking to Erin about her nieces, Wilder and Alice, and her sister-in-law being pretty dope too. So there's that. So, but I think they would want their memory so they could course correct any mistakes in their lives, or figure stuff out to some extent. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where the next episode takes us, now that we're getting slightly older Tiff. I mean, I say slightly, but it's 11 years, but still. It's going to be interesting to see where things go from here. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.